It's 10 a.m. Monday, June 7th here in Seoul. You're tuned into our mid-morning edition of Arirang News. I'm Yoon Jung-min filling in for Kim Mo-gyun. Let's start with the headlines. South Korea begins vaccinating people aged 60 and 64 against COVID-19, as well as troops aged under 30. This as the country added 485 new cases. Israel will further lift its mask mandate, saying people will no longer have to wear them indoors. In the meantime, a number of hardest hit countries are seeing their daily infections go down. The G7 agrees on a global minimum corporate tax rate, which is likely to affect a number of multinationals. The South Korean government is assessing the impact of the change. South Korea is picking up pace in the vaccination race by inoculating more people and stepping towards vaccinating over 13 million people in the first half of the year. More vaccines are being given today, and we have our Chang Tae-hyun on the line with the latest. Tae-hyun, which groups can we get the vaccines today?
Good morning, Jung-min. Starting Monday, people aged 60 to 64 will be able to get the AstraZeneca vaccine at medical facilities nationwide. 395,000 are eligible to get the shot, and about 78% of those have signed up for a spot. Health authorities are urging people over the age of 60 to get the shot, as they can get severely ill when infected with the coronavirus, and vaccination can lower the risk of fatality. According to research on those who received the AstraZeneca vaccine in the country, getting one shot is 90% effective against getting the virus and has a 100% prevention rate against COVID-19 fatality. And starting Monday, 350,000 military troops under 630 will receive the Pfizer vaccine. Military personnel over the age of 30 received the AstraZeneca vaccine last month. Vaccinated people will get a badge to signify that they've had their jabs, even an inoculation sticker added to their personal ID. Meanwhile, first and second grade teachers at elementary schools and workers at kindergartens and daycare centers can reserve the Pfizer vaccine starting Monday if they're under the age of 30. Those eligible can make bookings until the start of vaccinations in mid-June. As of Monday, the country has vaccinated over 7.5 million people, 14.8% of the nation's population.
Right, Tae-hyun. And tell us more about the COVID-19 situation today.
Sure. So South Korea recorded 485 cases on Monday. Of the new cases, 454 were local and 31 were from overseas. The health authorities remain on alert over the spread of more transmissible variants and sporadic infections that continue to sprout nationwide at workplaces, restaurants, and bars. That's all I have for now. Back to you.
Thank you, Tae-hyun, for the updates. Israel on Sunday announced it will further lift its mask mandate, saying people will no longer be required to wear masks indoors from next week. With vaccination rate increasing worldwide, some of the worst hit countries are starting to see a decline in daily cases. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
Israel, which has already lifted mask requirements when people are outdoors, will soon lift its mandates for indoors as well. According to the nation's health ministry on Sunday, requirements for masks to be worn indoors will be lifted next Tuesday, ending one of the only major COVID-19 restrictions remaining in the country. However, schools will be excluded, with children still required to wear masks during class, since the majority of those under 16 have yet to be vaccinated. Thanks to its mass vaccination drive, which has already fully vaccinated over half of the population, along with lockdown measures, the number of daily cases in Israel has been brought down from 8,600 at the peak of the outbreak to just 4 on Saturday. India on Sunday reported over 114,000 new cases, marking the country's lowest daily figure in 2 months. While that's the highest daily figure in the world, some cities in India are moving toward a lifting of lockdowns, allowing more businesses to operate, and a movement rule will be relaxed from Monday. India has ramped up its vaccination drive over the past few weeks, but the majority of its 1.3 billion people are still unvaccinated. Scientists have warned that a third wave could hit India later in the year. In Iran, the country on Sunday reported 5,612 new cases, the lowest figure this year. With a population of over 82 million, Iran has given at least one shot to 4.2 million people, but just 619,000 have received both doses. While most of Japan is still under state of emergency, the country may finally be seeing a decline in daily cases, as it reported 2,652 cases on Saturday, the third straight day under 3,000. Japan is also seeing a decline in the number of patients with severe symptoms, the figure falling by 41 from Friday to 1,157. 이승재, Arirang News.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is planning to use the UK's presidency at this year's G7 summit to call on the group to push for global vaccination coverage by the end of 2022. According to Johnson, the world is looking to the G7 to help them defeat the COVID-19 pandemic. While Johnson says the world must be vaccinated to end the pandemic, he did not mention any extra commitment from the UK. Britain's Health Secretary Matt Hancock on Friday pledged that the UK would look into donating spare doses, but said none are available right now. The U.S., Britain, and other members of the G7 group of leading economies reached a deal on Saturday to squeeze tax havens and raise more revenue from large multinationals. While the change is likely to reduce incentives that global tech giants like Google and Facebook have been enjoying, it could also have some implication for South Korea. Our Kim Sung-min explains.
Following the historic deal reached by the G7 group on a global minimum corporate tax rate, firms in South Korea are focusing on the possible implication for their operations.
The G7 has taken significant steps this weekend to end the existing harmful dynamic, making commitments today that provide tremendous momentum towards achieving a robust global minimum tax at a rate of at least 15%.
The deal was agreed on Saturday in an effort to end the decades-long race to the bottom, where countries competitively lower tax rates to attract corporate giants. Regarding the deal, the Ministry of Economy and Finance said on Monday that South Korea could be affected should the G20 group reaches the same agreement, although the impact would be highly limited. That's because the country's current minimum corporate tax rate is 17%, already above the G7 bloc's agreed minimum. The maximum rate, including local taxes, is around 27.5%, implying that subsequent adjustment in the country's corporate tax rates is highly unlikely. However, certain South Korean firms that are headquartered in jurisdictions where they are subject to little or no tax could be levied with more deductions, as companies with a profit margin of at least 10% must pay tax on profits in the country where they actually make sales, not just where they're based. The South Korean government said it is still assessing possible implications, as there's no clear list of potentially affected firms yet. The country will be able to draw a clear picture once the deal is discussed further in detail at a meeting of the G20 in July. Kim Sung-min, Arirang News.
South Korean small enterprises are struggling with exports as their outbound shipments rose only 2% over the past decade. The Ministry of SMEs and Startups said on Monday that South Korea's exports totaled around $512 billion last year, soaring 10% from 10 years before. Large conglomerates saw a jump of almost 6%, and medium-sized firms a bumper of 43% jump. That's a huge gap compared to the 2.1 increase for smaller firms in the country, showing the difficulties they face in expanding export routes. Their largest export partner is China, but the size of that market decreased by almost 11% in the past decade. President Moon Jae-in has paid tribute to a female Air Force officer who is believed to have killed herself after being sexually assaulted by a male soldier. He promised a thorough probe and ordered an overhaul in South Korea's barracks culture. Our senior Blue House correspondent Kim Min-ji reports.
President Moon Jae-in on Sunday met with the bereaved family members of a female Air Force officer who apparently committed suicide after a sexual assault incident and apologized that the state had been unable to protect her. He visited a memorial set up at the Armed Forces Capital Hospital in Seongnam, Gyeonggi-do Province, after attending a ceremony to mark the country's Memorial Day. The victim, a master sergeant, was found dead in apparent suicide in late May after suffering forced physical touching by a male colleague inside a car after a drinking session she had been made to attend. She reported the case to her seniors, but they are suspected of trying to cover it up. Her parents asked the president for a thorough probe, which Moon promised he would provide. The president also ordered Defense Minister Seok, who accompanied him, to carry out an overhaul of barracks culture. In the Memorial Day address earlier in the day, Moon said he was sorry for what he called an evil practice in barracks culture and said he will get to the bottom of it.
안타깝고 억울한 죽음을 낳은 병영 문화의 폐습에 대해 국민들께 매우 송구하다는 말씀을 드립니다. 군 장병들의 인권뿐 아니라 사기와 국가 안보를 위해서도 반드시 바로잡겠습니다.
During his speech, Moon also reaffirmed his commitment to revitalizing the peace process, pledging to prepare for the Korean Peninsula to take a big step toward denuclearization and peace. He recalled his recent summit with U.S. President Joe Biden at the White House, saying that the allies agreed to elevate ties to a comprehensive alliance based on peace and prosperity and democracy and human rights.
대화와 외교가 한반도 비핵화와 항구적 평화를 이루는 유일한 길이라는 데 의견을 모았습니다. 한반도 비핵화와 항구적 평화를 향해 다시 큰 걸음을 내디딜 수 있도록 준비하겠습니다.
Also on Sunday, Moon visited the Agency for Killed in Action Recovery and Identification, a special body affiliated with the Defense Ministry, tasked with identifying remains and conducting genetic analysis. Moon called for active cooperation from people who lost family members in the Korean War, so that excavated remains can be identified through DNA samples. The government is hoping to make more progress with an expansion of excavations later this year. 김민지, Arirang News.
Most of the soup kitchens in South Korea are closed to stop the spread of COVID-19. This has left many people more exposed than ever to food insecurity. But every Friday night here in Seoul, a group of volunteers is making meals and delivering them to those in need. Our Choi Won-jung has more.
Late at night, a group of people is walking around Seoul Station. With kind and simple greetings, they hand out food and masks to those who are less unfortunate, mostly homeless people living on the streets.
안녕하세요. 김밥이랑 마스크 나눠드릴게요.
This voluntary work began about 6 hours ago in an apartment building just outside Seoul. Kim In-ok works as an ordinary worker during the day, but every Friday night, he becomes a special chef. Due to concerns over the spread of COVID-19, many soup kitchens across South Korea have been closed for a month, leaving homeless people suffering serious food insecurity. And that's when Kim, his wife, and a few other volunteers jumped in.
We heard on the news that many soup kitchens had closed due to COVID-19. We noticed many homeless people are not getting enough help on the streets.
Kim says helping others was something he felt he had to do.
I struggled with my childhood a lot. I received so much support in every way. I realized I was growing and changing day by day. I wanted to share what I've been given with others.
For the nearly 8 months of volunteering since last November, there has been outpouring support from across social media, donating money, a bag of rice for the meal, or some more masks. Once the food is ready, the group takes the subway to Seoul Station.
매주 금요일마다 여기 서울역으로 오시는데 힘드시진 않으세요?
It would be a lie if I say I'm not tired at all, but it's worth doing it, so I keep going with the work.
The group always cooks the meals instead of just purchasing them. And Kim explains doing this way makes the job more meaningful. For an hour and a half, they go around and knock on each tent. Now, they're more welcome than ever before.
아이고 감사하게 잘 먹고 있습니다. 서울역 잊지 않고 이렇게 찾아주셔가지고 부르짖기 도와주셔서 감사합니다.
The group said they will keep delivering food even after pandemic ends.
And the sharing is not just by handing out food, but is an opportunity to be kind and bring hope to others. 최원종, 아리랑 뉴스.
One MMCA exhibition offers a foundation for artists to gain recognition. Some have gone on to become internationally acclaimed stars. The biennial exhibition is back featuring works of 15 up-and-comers. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
이불, 최정화, and 이형구. These well-recognized Korean artists were first introduced through the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art's Young Korean Artists program.
As one of the premier exhibition programs held by the MMCA, Young Korean Artists was first held in 1981, making this year its 40th anniversary.
The exhibition has been discovering and housing emerging artists based on the MMCA curators' recommendations and outside experts' research and discussion. The curator says this year showcases 15 boundary-pushing artists who come up with art through an extended range of media.
It's been meaningful to present artists who have explored their own artistic properties in a variety of fields, such as painting, sculptures, installations, media art, pottery, and photography.
One artist tried to show the need for ecological balance in our lives using natural materials such as weeds and clay, while another found motives from Dante's Divine Comedy and used porcelain to show human desires and anxiety. Though each artist varies in how they express their perspectives on society, there was one experience they all had in common: the pandemic. One artist focused on how the pandemic has made lots of people nostalgic.
I have restored a record store from Bright City during the late 1980s and early 90s to show the times when economy was developing fast. I use hi-fi audio in all records. Such images usually serve as a background of the city pop genre too.
Another artist filmed an acrobat navigating an abandoned water intake plant, showing how in unprecedented times of disaster, physical senses can be more valid than knowledge. Those interested in seeing Korea's young artists' adventurous attitudes can find the exhibition at the MMCA in Gwacheon until September 22nd. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Welcome. It's time for The World Now, bringing you some of the most interesting news from around the globe. I'm Ji-young. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex's second baby is officially here. In a statement on Sunday, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry announced the birth of their daughter, Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor. The new arrival is 8th in line to the British throne behind her 2-year-old brother Archie Harrison. The statement said her first name Lilibet comes from her great-grandmother, a nod to Her Majesty the Queen's nickname. The couple welcomed the 7-pound 11-ounce baby on Friday at 11:40 a.m. with both mother and child healthy and well. While the inoculation drive is picking up steam around the world, there are still millions of people with little chance of receiving even a single dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. For those in Ghana who wish to get the shots but live in areas too remote to get to a vaccination site, drones are coming to the rescue. Zipline, a cutting-edge delivery company, is flying drones to the remotest corners of Ghana in West Africa. The vice president of the company said delivery by drone is fast and comparatively simple.
Sending drones which are quick, they will not be subject to traffic, they will not be subject to all these uneventualities, and making sure that simultaneously all these health facilities could do vaccinations with just the doses they need is a very powerful thing.
As many as 40 drones can be in the air at once, and on average, a trip from distribution center to a local health facility takes 30 to 40 minutes. Zipline aims to deliver 2.5 million doses.
This primarily covers the country's rural population, and the company is currently offering COVID-19 vaccines to around 750 to 800 remote health facilities in Ghana. Amid the pandemic, a self-driving taxi might be the way to go. Chinese tech giant Baidu has launched its paid driverless taxi service in Beijing. It's the first company to commercialize autonomous driving operations in China, and since the beginning of May, 10 of its driverless taxis called Apollo Go have been running. One passenger said he felt it was a bit too fast when turning a corner.
Beijing has too many pedestrians and we see a lot of sudden crossing movements, so I'm pretty concerned. The driverless taxis may have wide applications in second or third tier cities.
People aged 18 to 60 can take the taxi, and each ride costs close to $5. Passengers can hail a cab using an app and need to scan a QR code to verify their identity before entering. Baidu says it expects to transport athletes and visitors during the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics.
Good morning. Those of you in the southern provinces will need to brace for strong heat today. Highs will go well above 30 degrees Celsius, and afternoon highs in Daegu will go up to 33 degrees Celsius. And there will be plenty of sunshine, while lots of clouds in the central region will keep highs in the mid-20s today. UV rays will be very high in the south, so please don't forget your sun protection items, while ozone levels will be high nationwide during the day. So please avoid spending too much time outdoors. High levels of ozone can irritate and inflame the lungs, which can lead to a cough and chest discomfort. It's going to be a scorcher for the south, and Gwangju will be topping out at 32 degrees Celsius. While northern parts of Gyeonggi-do and Gangwon-do provinces could see light passing rain tonight. Then Seoul is forecast to have the hottest temperatures of this season on Wednesday, while nationwide rain is in the forecast for Friday. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
That's all we have for now. Thank you for watching. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Goodbye.
Korea's COVID-19 vaccination campaign is well underway.